Welcome to the Encourager Podcast. I'm Rebekah Scott. I own Rebekah Scott Designs, where I am the designer and the CEO. I believe that if you desire an active, impactful role in your children's lives while simultaneously wanting to provide an income for your family, then being a mompreneur is exactly what you need to work at home. The Encourager Podcast is my way of inspiring and motivating you with insightful knowledge, tips, and advice from myself and other successful working women who put their families first. So let's take action and encourage one another. So I wrote a book. Say what? Yes, I did. It's called Equipped to Execute, guiding moms to joyfully impact their families and business. Oh, you know when you listen to a podcast and you think, goodness, I wish I could write that down, or I wish I could refer back to that in written form? Well, that's why I wrote it. I needed to answer the question, how do you do it, for you and for myself? So this labor, and I do mean labor of love, will be available for pre-orders for our book launch team. Visit theencouragerbook.com for details on the incentives, which include signed books, speaking gigs, a full day to brainstorm your business with me, and awesome Rebekah Scott Designs product to go with. The book includes chapters about how to ward off fear, how to set goals, how to make key decisions, and how to execute your dreams while raising your family, and loads of stories of my own journey with business and a growing family. So hop on, pledge what your heart screams for you to do, and pre-order yours today. We got this, Encouragers. Hello, Encouragers. This week, I wanted to approach the question, should I take more on? So sometimes when we're working a job and we're doing it nonstop, and then it kind of seems like we've got a good rhythm to it, and maybe we get off more at like 4 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., or it feels like we got about 6 to 8 extra hours a week when you've really defined your systems and you really are thinking, I think I do have a little bit more time. And then you're wondering, gosh, should I take more on? Should I grow my business? Should I start a new project? Should I pivot? Meaning keep my business in my bread and butter, 1 foot in the bread and butter, and 1 foot maybe in a new project. But you're still unsure if you actually have the time because some weeks are busier than others. Well, I'm going to help you try to narrow down how to know if you should take more on. So it is a great question to ask yourself before you go ahead and just jump in and do it. I am an impulsive, risky entrepreneur. And risky meaning I love to try new things and I'm not afraid of failure, which, by the way, sort of afraid of failure. Obviously, I don't want to fall flat on my face, but I am okay with failure because I feel like it's just a deviation from my path, but not a stop sign. Okay, so that's kind of how I define that. In order to figure out if you should take more on, you need to allow about 1 to 2 hours to ask yourself this question. So if you have that extra time, I want you to take 1 to 2 hours, block it out like we talk about, say, okay, at Friday at 1 p.m., I'm going to allow myself to think on this idea. Do I want to take more on or take this project on? Okay, so allow yourself the time. Then you're going to ask yourself and fill this out like an application. Okay, what is the project or what is the idea? You want to grow the business by 10%. Where are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? You will need to block in the time. You cannot just say, oh, I think it's going to take me about 5 to 10 hours a week. I can just squeeze that in. That's like the deadliest thing you could say to me, because if you are not timing it and blocking it in, it is not going to happen. And you know it because you will fill it with things, or your family will fill it with things. And they may be important things, but unless you prioritize this new thing and blocking the time to do it, it will not happen. And you'll be frustrated and burnt out. So number one thing is to decide when you're going to do it. And a possible idea for me is, for example, I'm writing the book this year. And I knew that it was the year to write the book because when I first tried to write the book, it was 2 years ago and I was 10 months pregnant with Pixon. And I had all these ideas and they were good, valid ideas. It's basically the same ideas I had for the book that I am writing right now. But when I did the math about how many hours it was going to take me, I knew there was no way I could block it in, not with raising this newborn and the rest of my 3 children. And so I just had to take a really hard look, and I talked it over with my husband, and I realized it would take about 10 extra hours a week. And I just did not have that margin. And so I decided to push the pause button, told the publisher that we will need to wait, but I still wanted to stay on his mailing list, and I still wanted to be in his in his eyesight, so to say, because I wanted to make sure that he remembered me and that I was memorable and that I was a worthy pursuit for this book. And here I am 2 years later and actively writing the book because I have the time. Now, my systems have been really defined with my Rebekah Scott designs, with the purses. I know who's doing what. I have an awesome team of people helping me. I was averaging about 2 to 4 extra hours a week. And I thought, that means I can experience some growth, which good gravy. We did experience growth last year, 38.2%. Word. Anyway, sidetrack. I was super excited. What would I do with these 2 to 4 extra hours? Now, I definitely could put them into my family, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, making sure that your relationships are good. But that's how I knew it was time to write the book, is I could allow the time. And so I decided what hours I was going to start writing the book. I use a fancy app on my phone that's called the tomato timer, and it gives you write for 25 minutes and you take 5 minutes off, and then you write for another 25 minutes. And it's really helped me write this book, but I have blocked in the time. I got a sitter for a day and a half. My mom helped with the 2 little ones. Well, I helped with all of them because they had spring break. So I could have a whole day, 8 hours to write. And I did. And then I've taken some Monday mornings from 9 to noon and been writing. Sometimes I've had the children with me. Sometimes they've been with a nanny, but I have been squeezing it in and allowing the time it would need to do this project. So make sure that you are blocking in when you are going to do this. And it might be that you need to do it on Saturday mornings from 5 to 8 a.m. If you really want it that bad and it's something that you want to allow for and will get you to the next level, then block it in and make sure that doesn't interfere too much with family time if it's a worthy pursuit. But sometimes you got to do the early thing. Even with the book, I would write from 5 to 7 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday mornings. That's where I wanted to fit in because it was a worthy pursuit of what I wanted to accomplish. Then ask yourself why. And possibly this is the biggest question of all of the key decisions, which is the what, where, when, why, and how. One of the big ones is why. Why are you going to take this on? So ask yourself, do I need to take this on because I am bored with my current job? And you're probably laughing, thinking, when in my life have I ever been bored? But think clearly, is it because that you are bored and you're spinning a little bit? Or is it because you don't want to do the nitty gritty part of your job that needs to be done? And you just want to avoid that? So you've been thinking and tinkering with new ideas instead of getting in the nitty gritty and getting past that level in your own business. So make sure your why is clearly defined because that might be what's going on. And if it's not, and you really do want to take something on, also ask your family, mainly your spouse and your siblings or parents, if you're close with them like I am, is this a worthy thing? Or, just flirt with the idea of, I for sure asked my husband about the book and he kind of narrowed it down for me. Well, what is your why? Why are you doing it? Also my siblings, what's the intent? When are you going to fit this in? You've got a lot of roles going on. Why do you want to do this? And narrowing that down because they will also help you decide from the outside looking in. It doesn't look like you need to take this project on. Becca, it really looks like you need to dig into that website and get that new website set up before you do this book. That was a lot of the questions with the first time I tried to write the book, but your family can kind of gauge that. And then you need to ask yourself, are the relationships or the roles in your life going well? Do you feel like a stressed out mom? You probably don't need to take this on right now. Do you feel like a fulfilled wife and you are serving your husband and loving your husband and it's a fulfilled marriage? Great, then maybe it is time to take that project on. But the most important relationships in your life should be going fairly well for you to decide to take more on. Those are just really important to me, that those priorities are higher than my work priorities. Is my marriage going well? Yes. Do I feel like a fairly organized, calm, patient mother? Yes. Do I feel like this is the year to do it? Yes. Okay, so ask yourself those questions before you take it on. Or if it's not, dig into that one particular relationship, make it better, and then revisit if it's time to take that project on. Then another thing is maybe you're thinking of the project and it could be broken down into a smaller project. So for me, the book, I could have taken the approach of just doing more blog entries, which I do have a blog and we do write in it every single week. I mean, because I have a cousin working with me to help me write. She's a very good editor. So we write together and I could have done that, but I really wanted something tangible for my podcast listeners to hold and look at. Like when you're browning the hamburger and they were getting discouraged, that they could pick up my book, read it, be encouraged, and start using some of my systems and methods. So that was my worthy ideal there, is how to get the book into your hands and why I wanted to start that. But what could you, in your project, narrow down to one thing? So for example, there's a gal that I work with, super great. And she came and said, I've always wanted to start a journal. And it's a very competitive field, apparently. I didn't know this, but she's telling me that it's a very, very competitive field and there's lots of different journals you can buy. And she didn't really know if she had the time to do it. And I had asked her, is there any way that you could break this down into not a full journal, but something smaller? And so she just really thought and reflected on it. And what she came out with was amazing. And I've preached about it quite a few times. It's called the Goal Tracker, or it is a goal tracker. And I use it every day. Every day I pull this up, and it's just a daily goal tracker to stay on track. And what you do is you submit to her your goals, and then she puts them up in a nice, pretty little sheet so that you can print it and check mark it every day. That is a way better use for me than filling out a big old journal. So it's called List with Purpose, and it's by M. Heckle Design. And you can definitely reach out to her and get it. I just love it. But anyway, she came up with this big idea and then broke it down into a goal tracker that fit more of her family time that she has right now. And then eventually, I know this gal will accomplish whatever she sets out to do. But ask yourself that, can your project be broken down into something simpler that you would have enough time to allow for in your day-to-day or your week? So that is how I answer the question, should I take on more? Answer the key decisions. Allow yourself 1 hour to ask, what is it? Where will it happen? When will it happen? How will it happen? Who's going to help you? How are you going to do it? And then probably most importantly, why? Why are you doing it? Is it because you are bored and you need to dig into the nitty gritty of your current position? Or is it because you need to be inspired and would like to start this new project and do in fact have the time? Ask your family and relationships if they think it is a good idea, if they can see that you have the time, and ask yourself, are all of your relationships fulfilled to the level that you want them to be? Before you take this on, make sure you're reviewing your priority list. And then think about if the project can be broken down to something smaller that you do have more time for. But I'm always a big proponent of dreaming big. So if this is something that you really, really want, you will find the time to do it, but you better block it in. And I've been getting up early to write this book, and it has been so worth it. I am so excited to get this into your hands. So keep following us. We have more details about the book coming up and all of the excitement with that. But I'm really excited for you guys to start asking yourself, should I take on more? Let me know if I can help in any way when you ask yourself, should I take on more? I'd love to be of help, encouragers. We got this. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have not done so, please subscribe to the show so that the latest episode will always be conveniently available on your device. You can also find the show notes on my website at shoprsd.com. That's shop with R as in Rebekah, S as in Scott, and D as in designs.com. The Encourager Podcast tab is at the bottom of my website, which holds some great resources like my recommended book page, how to rate and review my podcast, and reflection guides that correspond with each episode. Each review and rating is so valuable to us. I sincerely hope you feel encouraged and empowered to tackle anything that comes your way this week. Remember to be grateful, humble, and kind. Then joy will come ushering in. Until next time on The Encourager.